Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Cheryl. I really appreciate that. I appreciate being here. Hopefully it's entertaining and maybe slightly educational. There's going to be a balance. You can figure that out by the time our time together is over. Here is kind of my plan for our time together before there is a reception. I have some introductory remarks. I'm going to introduce you to the notion of a photography. I know that sounds like a made-up word. All words are made up. We'll get to that. There are two types I'm going to share with you, some RMPA stories as well as some data, and then hopefully we'll end on some takeaways. I really would like to have some time for questions and comments at the end. But first, some introductory remarks. It takes a lot of planning, as you might realize, for a conference. I just want to share some things that went back and forth. It's really awkward to take screenshots of text messages. By the way, you can tell when older people send text messages, they use first names, all right? So that's one of the tip-offs between Cheryl and I sending text messages. You can see what's happening here. I wanted to come out to a fog machine. The entrance here is kind of awkward. It would have been a very short walk for a fog machine. She's RMPA president. She said no. Then, okay, how about a dry ice machine? She said no. Okay, fine, all right. I get there's limitations. You know, she's already talked about insurance. Fine. So I thought, well, let's just go for it then. Can I ride in on a motorcycle? There's a really short, the ramp wasn't gonna work. She's a really good friend. And so Cheryl asks me a really typical, logical question, can I ride a motorcycle? I said no. She replied back, no. All right. Can I ride in on a horse? Come on, I'm just not going for it now. You know I'm in trouble when she says my first name for the second time, right? Eric, can you ride a horse? No, I can't ride a horse. Then she says, then no. All right, so I'm just going to go for it then, right? No. Eventually she's got to say yes. I mean, I'm a kid, right? I mean, I don't look like a kid, but I'm a kid inside. So I just go for it, right? There's a podium up here, right? While suspended in midair, can I be lowered to the ground just behind the podium, perfectly placed? Right here. I get my name mentioned in this list for the third time. No, Eric. Yeah. Fine, Mom, fine. Can I play We Are Family by Sister Sledge at the beginning of my presentation? Well, yes, you can. Thank you, Dr. Madam President. So that's what I did. If you were here late, that's what I did. I got to play We Are Family, and there's actually a reason why I did that, and it's going to come into play this evening. Now, on a more serious note, I want to acknowledge privilege, and it's going to come into play later on when I make a point later on. I'm not a DEI expert, so bear with me here. I have what I call unearned privilege. If you're a baseball fan, there's an earned run average. There are earned runs, and then there are unearned runs. I have what's called unearned privilege. You can read that for yourself on the screen. I have all kinds of privilege in my life that I didn't do anything to earn. It was given to me by station in life, by my parents, by where I was born, by my parents' characteristics. So I need to acknowledge that, and it has given me opportunities that other people don't have. That's going to come into play later on. Can I just mention the fourth one for a moment? My father was in the Navy for 26 years, and so I had military health care benefits, which, if you don't really understand that, those are a tremendous benefit to have at that time in the military. And can I this is kind of a soapbox, right? If I can just, for a moment, just kind of go off script and say, healthcare benefits aren't a privilege. They should be a basic human right. And I'm just going to say that really briefly. If you don't have basic health care, there's all kinds of other things you're going to not go well at times. So, thanks. So, Sister Sledge. So, when you do a discography in music, you take a deep dive. All right? So you study their albums, you study their releases, you study their track record going out in concerts. And so this is a process in music theory, a discography. And people have done discographies of Sister Sledge. And so they were amazing. They got together in Philadelphia when they were between the ages of 12 and 16. Their best hit was We Are Family. It was released in 1979, and it made to number 3 on the hit charts during that year. By the way, for many of us close to my age, it's a really important song. For me, it was an important song at this thing in the olden days called a roller rink. If you're young, ask your parents or grandparents about it, all right? Or Google it sometime, all right? We Are Family was a really important song during that time. So discography is this methodology that you can use to study the musicality and the musical prowess, if you will, of individuals and groups in music. Well, there's this thing called the Vitography, where you can go and you can study someone's accomplishments based on their affiliation or their organization. So I see some of you studying this and looking at this screen, and I have a hard time pretending that this is real, because I made this up. Isn't it good? Look at the pronunciation. Do you know how long I had to search for those umlauts and those grave marks? I mean, if you go back and look at discography, by the way, I'm looking at it backwards, that's impressive. You see the pronunciation underneath it, right? I had to really figure that out, how to do Vitography, right? Okay, well, I don't know if I invented this process, but I did invent this word, right? Kind of goofy. And so I'm going to share with you my RMPA Vitography. I took a deep dive. So the idea is my RMPA could be your RMPA. And there really is a message in here eventually that I hope will be meaningful to you. And as I did this and thought about it more deeply, I started thinking, this is kind of a cool idea. In fact, it's so cool, I'm going to slap trademark on there. Because this might turn out to be something. And then I started thinking, oh my gosh, trademark might be the wrong thing. Maybe I should do a registered mark, because trademark might be wrong. And then I really went down a rabbit hole. Oh, maybe registered mark is wrong. Maybe it should be a service mark. Oh man, now I'm screwed. And so maybe it's not a service mark, maybe it's a copyright. All right, so then I Googled all this stuff really late at night when I shouldn't have been Googling. You know how that works, right? You're avoiding doing the stuff you should do, but you're Googling, right? So then I Googled all this, and there are more than one website that says there are penalties of law if you use these marks inappropriately in places. So I just went back to trademark, all right? I'm just telling you right now, I went back to trademark, all right? So that's what I'm going to call it, my Vitography trademark. All right. So here's some data. Actually, I'm going to come down here and join you. Here's some data. So my first RMPA was in 1993. I'll do the math for you. It was 30 years ago. And what's really cool, RMPA, after this session, they're hosting a reception to honor my 30 years ago. No, it's not a reception, Nancy, for my 30 years ago. All right, we're having a reception after this, but it's not about my 30 years ago. My first RMPA was 30 years ago. I had 5 presentations, and here they are.
Oh, wow.
This is your chance to go, aww. Thank you. You've seen Shrek. Cool. I just didn't have to hold up the card. That's awesome. And before you get really hypercritical, this was APA format in the olden days, all right? So just back off, all right? You know who you are. This was 3rd edition APA format.
Don't you write a current edition?
All right, journal editor, show off, all right. Yeah, and by the way, you are encouraged to participate, heckle, talk to me. It'll be a change of pace for my students in Psych 101 this semester. It'd be really lovely for you to actually participate in this room. It'd be lovely. But it was a joint meeting, RMPA and WPA. Can you even imagine that? It was in Phoenix.
I helped plan it.
Yeah, I'm not going to say what I was going to say. My first 3 undergrad research assistants at Boise State, Melanie Husky, Tammy Middleton, Shannon Sweeney, each made a poster presentation. I made a couple presentations as well. 30 years ago, I also went back in my photography and I looked at student co-authorships. So even though there were 3 students, did you see what I did, what we all do? I put each of them on each other's. So I had 3 students, but I actually had 9 co-authorships. I don't know what I was doing in 2011, but I was just going shit crazy. Oops, I meant bat crazy. I said it wrong. You got it out of order. Thank you, Elizabeth. I appreciate that very much. I do have some asterisks up here for 2020, the very sadness of when RMPA was canceled because of COVID. So submitted them, got them accepted, but they weren't presented. And students were equally saddened as well. Here's a fun photographied approach. Of the 16 RMPAs I've been to, there are the cities I've been to. By the way, that's in order. The first one was Phoenix, and here we are in Albuquerque. So to the RMPA Executive Committee, you're welcome for all the room nights that my institution has contributed to making your room block year after year after year. By the way, that's not all the cities. Those are just the cities that I've been to. We can go up and down the Rocky Mountain corridor. My timeline. So kind of getting to the end of the data section of this. So my first presentation's in 1993. I actually serve as convention co-manager in 2008 when it's held in Boise, Idaho. I serve as regional vice president of the Psychi Rocky Mountain region, 2009, 2010, 2011. I'm honored to serve as president 2016, 2017. And then here we are tonight. The point I want to make here, and I will come back to this one more time before we're finished, is that it took 15 years. My first presentation at RMPA was in 1993, and it really kind of took me 15 years to either A, break in, or B, give back to RMPA. My RMPA can be your RMPA. It doesn't have to be. You might find some other organization in your life that's meaningful to you. It might not be RMPA. It's not a literal thing, it's a figurative thing, right? So maybe your RMPA, your organization might be something back on your campus, or it might be something for students and graduate students where you end up going to work. Or your organization might be your church, or 4-H, or something in your community, or something meaningful to you. Or maybe you don't know what it is yet, but you're going to have a significant other now or in the future, and you might adopt what their organization is. So, and it might take a while. For me with RMPA, looks like it took 15 years. By the way, RMPA gave me a lot in those 15 years. RMPA gave me the chance to come to this conference and present my work. You saw the data. RMPA gave me a chance to help advance my career and apply and become an assistant, from assistant professor to associate professor with tenure. And also in that time block, apply from associate professor to become full professor. So I might not have been given anything back yet, but RMPA was one of a number of important opportunities for me. My RMPA can be your RMPA. All right, I want to tell some stories. because we're family. And families tell stories. Families are all about stories and shared experiences. We're all about stories and shared experiences. So this guy, Albert Bandura, the Psychi Regional Vice President gets to invite a distinguished speaker. And in 2010, I invited Albert Bandura. I'm going to talk about him a little bit. In 2011, I invited Elizabeth Loftus, who we're lucky to have back again this year as a speaker. And you better be here 9:10 tomorrow morning to hear her, because this is someone that you want to hear give a talk in your lifetime. Albert Bandura is here. I've got a number of stories. I'm going to tell two. One is I'm introducing him. I wrote it out because I knew I'd be nervous. He's sitting down on a podium. He's sitting down next to the podium. I'm up at the podium. I'm reading through it. He heckles me. He heckles me in the middle of his own introduction to his keynote address. It is the best heckle I've ever had in my entire life.
He heckled me too when I introduced him.
And now Nancy's making it about her. Nancy Carlin also got heckled. And so anybody else get heckled by no, that was just great. I appreciate it. Susan, we only heckle the ones we love. This is how we do that. See what I did there, Nancy? See what I did there? All right. So that's one. Now, and by the way, that RMPA in 2010 in Denver, at that time was the highest attendance RMPA ever. I think that's been broken since then. But at that time, it was just amazing. He was so generous. Yes, he signed everything, including uninflated Bobo dolls. Yes, he did that. It was just amazing. He gets into town. He goes to his hotel room. I go to meet him. I introduce myself, and he says, "I'm hungry." You take Albert Bandura to dinner when the man says he's hungry, right? So I go find these fine folks. You've already been introduced to Cheryl Sanders. Nancy Carlin's the one heckling me up front here in the front row. She's the convention coordinator. And we go to dinner. I think this is after dinner. I think we're posing in a hallway in the Denver Sheridan Tech Center, whatever it was. And we go to the nearest restaurant, which is walkable, which is a Mexican restaurant. And we go in and we sit in a booth. Oh God, we sit in a booth. Albert Bandura slides in. I slide in next to him. All right, I am sitting in a booth at dinner with Albert frickin' Bandura. All right, I am a kid in a candy store. If you know me yet, I'm asking him every question I can think of. Yes, I'm asking him every question I can think of. He tells a story that and he's passed away now, by the way. He passed away last year. He tells a story about he's got 2 twin grandsons. They are freshmen in college. Now, first off, can you imagine that? Being a freshman in college in Psych 101? Hey, are we going to talk about granddad's social observation theory yet? Granddad? No, anyway. He says he's got 2 freshman grandsons in college. And Nancy Carlin and Cheryl Sanders go, each, well, we've got daughters in high school who are seniors. And they each, individually, this is back in the old days when people had paper pictures of their daughters. They each pull out pictures of their daughters to show Albert Bandura at dinner. Thank you. He asked for the pictures, and they obliged. And by the way, Cheryl's daughter is on the left, Nancy's daughter is on the right as you're looking at them at the screen. And he stares at these pictures, looks at them like this for longer than he should have, and puts them in his pocket. And we go on to the next topic. And he never gives them back. There's something I like about that story, and there's something about that story that's a bit creepy to me. I don't think about it too hard, but every time we see each other, we do retell that story. We are family. We really are. Elizabeth Loftus has a long history of supporting RMPA. She was my 2011 Psych Distinguished Speaker. She's amazing. Come tomorrow and hear her at 9:10. Not only is she an amazing psychological scientist, but having done classic studies, but trained so many undergraduate and graduate students in her career. When she does her talk tomorrow, I hope she'll talk about, I hope that she'll talk about the difficulty when she has debunked some repressed memories and the threats that she's had to deal with in her life. You know, psychological scientists don't often become political figures. She has had to in her career, and it's a really great story. So please come and listen to that if you can tomorrow morning. Susan Nolan is someone else that I met at RMPA in 2008 in Boise. I was convention co-manager. I didn't get to hear her talk. I'm sitting at a dinner table with her, across from her, and I say to her, "Yours was the best talk I never heard." And gosh darn it, she wasn't offended by that. And we have become really good friends after that. She had just written a statistical methods textbook, and I challenged everyone at my table, draw me a normal curve, and I wanted to see if they could draw the tails asymptotic to the horizontal axis. Hopefully, students, you can do that. And actually, you can see what they drew there, and I actually still have them to this day. Because we're family and we have fun at those dinners, especially when you go from table to table and find the extra wine. And so that's what happens. This is a memory also. Oh, good, Bethany's back there. Good. Lisa just gave her a shove, I believe, if my vision's good enough. 2018, we're coming back from dinner, and Bethany has agreed to sit for the podcast. The PsychSessions podcast with Garth Neufeld and I co-founded in 2017. Garth's here as well. The URL for it is psychsessions.org at the top of the screen. And a lot of great people in this room have sat with us or done this over Zoom. And we just have a conversation. And Bethany, I don't know what happened that evening, but we just had the most genuine conversation. You can still listen to it. You can listen to all these episodes for free. And it was just about work-life balance and mommy guilt. And I'd heard the term before, but I hadn't had a conversation with someone who was so honest and open about it. And if you're interested in this topic, go search for the TED Talk that Bethany Fleck-Dillon has given on this. And I've watched it a couple times. It makes me cry every time. It's poignant. It's poignant. Actually, I can't think about it. Besties, I mean, we are family. These are some of my favorite besties. And I've got a ton of pictures. I can't show them all. I went and found some ones. What's wrong with Anna, did I not do well? Oh, okay, all right. You're twice on the same screen. I thought that was pretty good. 3 different RMPA past presidents here. You know, we are family. 2 different RMPA past presidents. Someone trying to be a fashionista. Not quite sure what went right or what went wrong there. Right? Oh, here, this is good. A little bit of educational help here for students who might be here for the first time or faculty members. Some regionals have acronyms that are pronounceable. All right, so SEPA, they call it SEPA. SWAPA, they'll say SWAPA, S-W-P-A. The rest of us, we don't pronounce. So just as an FYI friendly tip, MPA doesn't go MPA, right? You can see the rest. We don't go RUMPA. Right? I've actually heard a couple of people do this in the past, and I've never stopped them and slapped them upside the head, but we don't do RUMPA, all right? Just FYI, don't do that. You know, we don't call it USA. It's USA. We don't call it USA, we don't call it RMPA, all right? Just FYI. We don't call it IFWA, like FYI either, right? RMPA, oh, it's incredibly welcoming. Incredibly welcoming. Did you see in your hotel room, and by the way, in collaboration with Hotel Albuquerque, did you see these? Did you see these if you're staying here? The K-cups? All right, this is awesome. So, I don't mean to brag about this. Past president, special stuff when I got here last night, my hotel room. I got to share this with you. The rest of you got this K-cup. I got this one. Yeah. I mean, they go out of their way to make you feel welcome here at RMPA. They go out of your way, make you feel good. I was surprised to see that, got to tell you. Some other RMPA facts while we're here. We were founded in 1930. Cheryl did the math for us. 93rd RMPA, right? Although it's been founded since the 1930s, did you know that the name changed briefly? There was a brief name change because there was struggles in the late 30s. And to remain afloat, there was an honorary a couple of years there where RMPA was renamed to honor the person that brought us through those tough times. A lot of people don't know this. It was called the Rick Miller Psychological Association. All hail Rick Miller. All hail Rick Miller. Didn't have to change the stationery. Best part of him saving the day. Didn't have to change the stationery. All right. Up in the left there, one of my favorite pictures. Back in the olden days, I had a steering committee, and Leslie Cramblett Alvarez and Steve Barney flanking their Albert Bandura. Great picture in my mind. And then I'm posing with past President Eric Amsel and somebody crashing the photo. I don't know who that fella is. What's his name? I don't know. Whatever. Three amazing leaders within the Rocky Mountain Psychological Association. Again, we are family. And I know, I do want to leave some time. These are my family, and I know there wasn't a lot of diversity there. I know there wasn't a lot of diversity in the pictures. They're the ones I could find easily. I have something for you. In 2018, we had a photo booth. And for some reason, I think I had access to all the photos that were taken that evening at the photo booth. And let me show you how people could walk away with either the photo strips, or you could get the actual photos sent to you. And they look like this. So you could pose for 3, right? So I don't have time to show you 180 pictures individually, but I'm going to do it. About 1 second at a time, a little over 1 second at a time. And I put it to the music, My Heart Will Go On. If you don't recognize that, it's from the Titanic. You might think that's an odd choice, and it is. I'm sorry. If you don't entertain me, I'm going to entertain me. The last one of that night, I know you can't see this, is this one. And it's me and Aaron Richmond, who's here. And we replicated some poses that would have been in the movie The Titanic. And of the 180 I'm about to show you, the last 3 are that, and they get 2 seconds each. My RMPA can be your RMPA. We are family. If you're here tonight, you're part of the RMPA family from now on. I want to show you this RMPA family. I'm going to hope this plays. I think it will. I hope you'll enjoy this. Hang on. It's a quiet start. Find an organization that's meaningful to you. It might be RMPA, it might not be RMPA, that's okay. For me, it was. By the way, for me, it was also PsychTech. For me, it was also the Society for the Teaching of Psychology. Find something that's meaningful for you. I mentioned some already. Man, I'm out of breath from holding air and reaching in my arms. Wait, that sounded funny.
It's all right.
It is all right. My wife might not care for that statement, but it is all right. I felt good. Again, it could be church, it could be community, it could be something you haven't even found yet. Find an organization that's meaningful to you. Participate and give to it as you can. Here's where the idea of privilege comes back. We all have different levels of privilege. By the way, you're going to have different levels of privilege where you are in your career. As a student, you might not have bandwidth for organizations right now. As a new faculty member working on promotion and tenure, you might not have much bandwidth. And you might not want to give that to your university. You might want to give that to your community. Or maybe you want to give it to your family. You might want to invest it there. Participate and give to it, whatever that organization or group is, as you can. This one's someone you might disagree with. And that's okay, because it's all right to be wrong. No, I'm sorry, I'm just teasing. It may take a while to get anything back from it, if ever. I think sometimes people have a hard time thinking about this. I'm going to give to something to get back from it. I gave to RMPA for a long time, but I got something in terms of advancing my career. I don't remember ever expecting to get something back from it. I don't remember making that a transaction. It just happened. But again, I had privilege. I had privilege. So your results may vary. Optics in the mirror are larger than they appear. Your disclaimers apply. So you have to be thoughtful about this. If you went to the 12 o'clock session, you had 4 incredibly intelligent people giving you great advice for students and faculty in that session about avoiding burnout and making weight decisions about what to invest in and what to do, what not to do, how to take care of yourself. And that's all related to this. If you're going to invest in an organization, what are you going to stop doing to be able to do that? And then finally, I do think my RMPA can be your RMPA. Maybe not literally, but figuratively. You give to something, you might get back from it. Or whatever you take away from it can help advance you in whatever way you want it to be. It has been for me over 30 years. And I appreciate all the people and all the family that I have. Thank you very much.